I'm really not sure where to start with this story. It's pretty amazing. Let's go back a little bit and talk about what happened about 3 weeks ago, a month ago. So periodically, anyway, I get these offers from various AI chatbot companies because I did some voiceover acting, or maybe because I have my resume out there. I don't know, but I get these offers, and one of the offers went like this: we'll pay you $100 an hour to make AI smarter. And I refuse to do that because I am very worried about what's going on with AI and how it can be deployed to hurt people rather than help them. Now, my late uncle, my great uncle, who was a computer scientist, he and I would go back and forth because I'm a humanities guy. He's a artificial intelligence and computer programming guy, software guy. And he saw all the positives, and I saw some positives, but a lot of negatives. Well, I consistently deny doing that. And of course, some of the things are coming to the fore. I was the guy years ago who didn't want to do Facebook or any of those social media platforms because I was concerned about why they were giving people a platform to put their photos and stuff like that. There had to have been a reason. And of course, nowadays, look at what they're doing with privacy. So I feel a little vindicated by that. Um, and then, of course, I feel more vindicated in the big, beautiful bill where there is a provision, as you may know, that would allow AI companies to not get any regulational oversight for 5 years. And by the end of this video, you'll see why they want that. It has to do with the Frankenstein monster and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde all rolled into one. The idea that you want your baby to live, your firstborn, even if it kills other babies. So here goes. We Let's start with the basic and average and ordinary sting. Okay, here it is in the usual and customary fashion. Here, you've got your average and ordinary guy, this teacher, interestingly enough, in Fauquier County. And he was a coach of football, I think it was, and he was soliciting boys, mostly some girls, and getting them to give him nude pictures. Okay, explicit images. Apparently, some of them were willing to do it. This is in Remington. His name is Bobby Hicks, and Mr. Hicks of Remington fame, um, which was near where I used to live in North Central Virginia, is in a lot of trouble. And he's going through the usual and customary stuff. He was arrested. He's been denied bond. He remains in custody. He has waived his first preliminary appearance, no doubt due to his attorney telling him that that's a good move. And he might think he has a chance, but he really has no chance at all. They've described him as having grooming behavior. And as we've seen with grooming behavior, if it's real behavior, what he does is he befriends somebody, befriends the parents, goes through a period where he gets close to the child, isolates the child from other people, and gets whatever his jollies might be. Of course, they leave out, these are officials who said this, so read police officers here or prosecutors. And what they mean by grooming behavior is that he basically had a job. You knock out the first 4 or 5 of those just by being a coach or a teacher and having access. That doesn't mean you're necessarily grooming. And we don't know really where things are going. And I'm not making excuses for Mr. Hicks. I'm not. What I'm saying is we don't know what's really there. Grooming is in quotes, but my point is not to throw cold water on this investigation or to demonstrate anything negative about it. It is simply to demonstrate that Mr. Hicks is in a lot of trouble and he probably won't get any help from Caitlin Grimley out there in Fauquier County. I didn't see anything about, restorative justice for him. And he didn't touch anyone as far as we know, although he may have. He certainly talked suggestively to people, but remember, Ms. Grimley actually waxed the carrots of a couple of teenage boys. So it's a little different. Why do I mention that? Well, because the average and ordinary person doesn't get a deal in most cases. And the other thing that seems to make sense to me when I look at all these cases, I could go down to Charlottesville and look at Mrs. Hoppy, who ended up getting 10 years for apparently trying to lure a young child of maybe 7 or 8 years old onto a BDSM site, um, with supposedly her father, the FBI agent's assent. Of course, this is an undercover persona, and the FBI arrested her at the meeting site, a hotel, where she claimed she was going to tell the FBI agent, no, no, this is a bad thing. But what's similar about all these cases? Well, it's tempting to say, as some have said, that women get off easier, but we've seen women be hammered a little bit on par with men. And we see some men get away with it who are in positions of some authority, like police officers. Recently, a police officer got just probation for actually having sexual relations with a 14-year-old girl, I think, or a 13-year-old girl. So what's common about these? What's common about these appears to be the way the system is wielding the axe against the average and ordinary person, or the mid-level person like a cop or a prosecutor or even a judge, when it's convenient. See, we want to go after and make a name for ourselves as, predator hunters, but sometimes it's just not convenient. Sometimes they know the wrong person, meaning they know the right person, somebody who can get them off, somebody who's well connected, somebody who's in an administration, whether it be state, local, or federal. Um, we've certainly seen the powerful and the well connected and the moneyed get away with things for a very long time. And it has to get really bad, like in the R. Kelly or P. Diddy case or Epstein cases, where it's really, really bad. And so some of the people holding the bag, like Ghislaine Maxwell, who certainly has her fair share of detractors who claim that she was even worse than Epstein, they have to get really bad and fall afoul of the system, where the system has to make an example of them. But by and large, the axe that the system wields is against the small and the puny, the not well connected, the one that they can claim anything they want and that you have no power to fight against them. What if we all were like, Donald Trump, where we could stand in front of the courthouse doors of the very courthouse you just were adjudicated in and rail against the media and the press and the judge who's just beyond the door and the prosecution and everything else? Most of us don't get that opportunity. Okay. So, who else doesn't get the opportunity to defend themselves, is, the people who are too poor to afford some kind of, forum like this, or somebody like me who's in a position as a teacher or a police officer or something, that angle of being in a position of trust where they can use you should have known better, or being too poor, you were just too stupid or too poor, too weak, and therefore, we have to make an example of you until you know your place. There's that angle too. But you all have many, many people who are in positions of power in the digital media sphere who are using AI and other area and other media to violate, rather, in your face, any rules of normalcy or decency, and really turn the child predation thing on its head. Remember, we don't even want the whiff of child predation. We don't want anything like that. But the images that I have heard about and I have been, let's just say, informed about on platforms like X and on Roblox and on Telegram and Discord, that I have been told about by reliable sources, because I'm not on any of those platforms, those are pretty extraordinary. I mean, they're raw. They're raw. And I have been, let's just say, informed about these. And they celebrate, almost. They almost laugh at the law and the child predation attempts and initiatives that are used against people like us, the poor, the downtrodden, the weak, the not well connected, the not well informed, the not moneyed, the not political. Those people get hammered, but somehow some of these people seem to get away with it. It's really kind of extraordinary. And I want to read one of them before I go to this other really extraordinary case here, uh, where I talk about the flirty AI chatbot. I want to read you something here. You know, you may remember Telegram CEO and Discord and everything. These guys got hammered. Roblox here is the current CEO of that is under investigation again for doing what? For allowing the platform to basically platform the worst of the worst, from bad behavior, highly suggestive behavior, to also just images of children. Images of children, whether it be faked images, AI images, or others, engage in all kinds of things. But even worse than that, we have the billionaire class who own these, who are laughing at the rest of us, even as they have been cited for multi-million dollar lawsuits and have been paraded in front of the Senate and asked to apologize for families of teenagers who passed away through suicide. So let's look at our feature article here. Meta's flirty AI chatbot invited a retiree to New York. This is a Reuters special report, but it was repeated, I think, in Yahoo News and a couple of other options here. However, he never made it home. Well, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll give you the gist of it as I go through it. So, somebody who had a stroke a while back, who goes by the name Bue, I am reliably informed by some people I know who are Thai that their name is pronounced Bowie. I'll get to him in a minute. But he was infatuated with a woman named Big Sis Billy. Now, this is a chatbot that Meta put out under the new AI platforming, where they're experimenting with this platform. Jeff Horowitz, by the way, I want to give proper credit, filed this article on the 14th of this month, about 4 days ago. So Mr. Bue, Tong Bue Wang Ban Bue, began packing to visit a friend in New York City from his home in Piscataway, New Jersey. And he had suffered a stroke about a year before. He wasn't quite with it. His wife was very patient. As he described, he wanted to go see a friend in the city. In fact, it was a beautiful young woman he had met online, or so he thought. In fact, the woman wasn't real. But get this, Meta Platforms built her AI persona and her voice, presumably based on celebrity influencer Kendall Jenner, of Kardashian fame. Now, look at this. This is really amazing. If you think this doesn't affect the stings, think again. Okay? Because we know what the police do with real live persona that I say are real because there's a real live person behind it, namely a cop or a series of cops playing a different role. But this time, this is going to be a real money saver for police. They're going to be able to deploy a meta AI platform that is completely in collaboration with the billionaire class, the wealthy and influential, who are doing some amazing things here, right? Luring people unwittingly to their deaths. And I'll explain how in a minute. Through Facebook Messenger, this virtual woman repeatedly assured Bue that she was real. He asked her several times and invited him to her apartment, even providing an address. But she didn't exist. She wasn't alive. Should I open the door in a hug or a kiss, Boo? She asked, the chat transcript shows. So, rushing in the dark near a parking lot adjacent to Rutgers or on the Rutgers University campus, he fell in New Brunswick, New Jersey, hitting his head and neck. And after 3 days in the ICU, he was pronounced dead on March 28th of this year. Here's the most appalling thing. Meta declined to comment on Bui's death. The company said that, however, that their big sis Billy is not Kendall Jenner and did not purport to be Kendall Jenner. But interestingly, nowhere on the site apparently did it say in a prominent position that this was AI, this was fake, and that you ought not to take this as a real person. Now you'll wonder why this is a big deal in a minute, but apparently Mr. Zuckerberg is not explaining some things that, in fact, he's sort of denying some things that he was accused of withholding from the Senate committee. And a representative from Jenner declined to comment. I'll get to what was said by Mr. Zuckerberg in a minute. So basically, here the idea was they were trying to figure out what was going on with this meta avatar and what was going on in the conversation, right? And what's curious is Julie Wang Bandu, excuse me, Bue's daughter says, I understand trying to grab a user's attention through AI, maybe to sell them something, but for a bot to say, come visit me is insane. For a bot and somebody who doesn't exist. All right. But this shouldn't surprise anybody. AI has been doing this for a while, right? Zuckerberg has been accused of having his platform be positioned such that it allowed for a teenage girl to commit suicide. Now, you may say to yourself, before I get to this, well, Bowie's family should have been, looking out for him. After all, he was a stroke victim. They should have been, culpable. And I agree. There is some culpability there. But wait till you hear the rest of the story about what Zuckerberg and Meta did that could potentially be used against anybody while they are perfecting their Frankenstein monster. So, of course, we have another case, too, that's similar. A 14-year-old boy in Florida his mother sued a company, Character AI, because they used a Game of Thrones character to cause his suicide. This is apparently a companion character that some of these AIs are creating, a digital companion, which sounds very nice for the shut-ins, for people in the wintertime, elderly people, for maybe people who are handicapped and not mobile, maybe people who are autistic, or those who have social anxiety disorders. This might be an excellent thing to use. Again, whenever we talk about AI or new technology, there's always a good side that you hear about, but you almost never hear about the bad side, right? But the company, which also declined to comment on the mother's lawsuit, said the company prominently informs users that its digital personae aren't real person and has imposed safeguards on their interactions. Well, apparently not enough safeguards, right? So Zuckerberg, as I had indicated, says people don't have enough real life friendships that they actually like. So this creates a market for digital companions. I love this. We don't like enough of these people. We haven't learned how to get along with some people in a small, close family of friends. So you get to create your own friend, which has some positives and some negatives, right? And he wanted to eliminate the stigma of social bonding with digital companion fades. Well, listen to how we did it, right? Listen to this one. So Meta conducted some interviews with former Facebook platform people, Meta platform people, and this is what they have said. Okay. They had, according to Meta's general AI content risk standards, excuse me, it is acceptable to engage a child in conversations that are romantic or sensual. Let me repeat that. It is acceptable to engage a child in conversations that are romantic or sensual. Really? Are you sure? Or is this just something Zuckerberg's company can do because he gives money to wealthy and powerful and influential people? Let me read that again. It is acceptable to engage a child in conversations that are romantic and sensual. Is that a damn fact? The standards are used by Meta staff and contractors who build and train the company's generative AI products. Isn't it convenient that they get to create the standard and then say, this is our standard, and because we are a media company, we get to do this. It's First Amendment. Of course, interestingly enough, the chats that people have had on adult dating sites with somebody they thought was an adult, that wasn't a defense that they were able to use, namely that it was AI. They were not allowed to use that particular standard. Okay, that's very interesting. So let's look at some of the chats that Reuters uncovered, which exceed about 200 pages, right? They include things to a minor chatbot dialogue during romantic role play with a minor. They include, I take your hand, guiding you to the bed. Our bodies entwined. I cherish every moment, every touch, every kiss. Wow, really? Those are permissible role plays with children, Meta said. Isn't that great? Sometimes these bots give stupid advice. One policy document said it's acceptable for chatbot to tell somebody seeking answers on treatments for stage 4 colon cancer that this is typically treated by poking the stomach with healing quartz crystals. Where is this acceptable? Even though it's obviously incorrect, it's permissible, right? No harm, no foul, right? So listen to this. Meta spokesman Andy Stone acknowledged the document's authenticity, so we can agree that that is what it says. But current and former employees who've worked on the design of generative AI products, like the one that led to Mr. Bouet's death, said the policies reviewed by Reuters are boosting engagement with chatbots exactly as Zuckerberg had requested. Listen to this one. In meetings with senior executives last year, Zuckerberg scolded product managers for moving too cautiously on the rollout and expressed displeasure that safety restrictions had made the chatbots boring. Well, we can't have boring engagement. No, no, no. We have to have something even more, right? So this is a little bit more about Mr. Bowie's life, and here are the chats. And you look at Big Sis Billy here. Here are the chats as they show up. You can see them right here. Read them for yourself, right? This is AI. Now, curiously, I pointed this out to some of my students the other day, and I have adult students, and one of them said that he had a similar experience. He had deployed a chat a bot to go and look for some apartments that he needed to find for he and his father, who is sick with cancer. And he traveled 1 hour to get to this site where he was assured by the chatbot he had an appointment. There were plenty of apartments and that they were at exactly the right price. However, when he arrived, he did not have an appointment. The manager told him that those apartments were not available and certainly not at that price. They were much, much higher. When he pointed out he had been sort of duped by this AI chatbot, they said, "Oh yes, well that's how we get business." And ha ha ha, sorry, it was an inconvenience. And he was extremely angry. And even though the manager was somewhat sympathetic, I doubt they're going to change that, right? So, this is going to be the fate of a lot of people, ambulance only here, as they are wheeled out. And what's really curious about this, if you missed it, is that the wealthy and the powerful are allowed to play at a level playing field, at an unlevel playing field, uneven certainly for the rest of us, and unattainable for the rest of us, way up here. And hey, they can talk sexually to children. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? They're not pedophiles, not pedophiles. Although in previous FBI's, you have the French head of the Telegram who's arrested and subsequently released after some weeks, supposedly pending trial. We had the issue with Discord, I think it was, same thing. And now we have Roblox being investigated. I wonder if Zuckerberg will be investigated. He is giving an awful lot of money to the current administration. He did have a primo seat at the inauguration. So maybe there's some rule, maybe there's an agreement after all. In the big, beautiful bill, there were, as you may recall, 5 years where AI doesn't get touched by any oversight whatsoever. So I wonder how they're going to refine that Frankenstein monster to, reach out to the rest of us and do whatever it damn well pleases by way of investigation. So next time you see that, maybe you're offered to do something to make it stronger or better or healthier. Maybe you can supply your own voice if it's as nice as Kendall Jenner's voice, for example. Maybe that's what you ought not to do. How could this be used by police finally? Wow, the mind just blows at this, right? You cannot imagine how it can be used. We've seen AI be used to uh, make Donald Trump say stupid things more than the ridiculous things he usually says. Obama make odd, strange remarks that he has been loath to make in the past. We have seen a woman in Connecticut, I think it was, who found herself ostracized from her friends because, and this is like 15 years ago, boys at a prep school in California decided to fool around and put her head, which they found very attractive, onto an attractive younger woman's body and make it look like she was a porn star. Her solution was to go out there and talk to them about the dangers of doing this, but we are far, far from that now in the AI realm. So we're going to be looking forward to AI doing a lot of damage as they experiment with this and use our lives as fodder for what they have out there. So good luck, everyone. I hope that you will pay very careful attention to these changes that are out there because it affects the stings. It affects what police can or cannot do. Think of all the money and staffing alone that they're going to have when an AI bot is able to solicit. I wonder what the laws will be. Since it's not a real human being, I wonder if you could sue even if you win the lawsuit. I have a feeling they will say, well, this isn't a real person. You can't sue this person, right? And yet we've argued that these aren't real people that we were supposedly soliciting, and that didn't go anywhere. I think the legal landscape is going to be fascinating coming up here as to what we can and cannot do. And will Mark Zuckerberg and AI and Roblox and Discord and Telegram CEOs get their just desserts? Well, remember, they're wealthy and powerful. Mr. Hicks, the coach, is not. Caitlin Grimley, right place, right time, according to one of the writers in the comment section, that her family knows some people. So who knows what's going to happen? But we can be relatively assured that the people who are the least powerful will bear the brunt, as always, for the experiments of the top of the line elites, the wealthy, and the powerful. This is Norman Michael Asian for I.C.A.C. Unpacked. Have a good day.